Good morning, everyone. Today is Wednesday, August 12th. It is almost 10 a.m. and we are continuing the Eastern Energy Expo 2020 on demand, the live business sessions that we are doing every weekday morning at 10 a.m. Today, we have actually we have one topic, but two variations of that topic regarding workforce development and employee engagement. If there's anything that I hear from members, it is, and it isn't just in New Jersey, it's across the region, it's across the country, is finding and retaining good employees is the biggest headache that we have, and that how often that we put up with bad attitudes, inmates running the asylum, what have you, because we're afraid of losing someone who we might not necessarily be fond of, but they show up most days at the time they're supposed to and do a respectable job at what they do. So today, as I said, we have two different presenters. The first is Rick Munson, the second is Jesse Lord. And Rick's presentation is going to be looking at a workforce development from the perspective of those within your existing organization. You may find that you can get the job done without even needing to hire a new employee. The second half, that's the first half, and the second half will be Jesse talking about the benefit of hiring veterans. They can make great motivated employees and often come with government benefits. At some point, you're going to have to hire younger millennial employees, so learn how to market to this generation to find quality candidates, and certainly someone with a military background has that. You know for certain that when they are told to be awake in some place at 5:30 in the morning, they're awake and where they're supposed to be at 5:30 in the morning. So our first presenter is Rick Munson. Rick has been gracious to make presentations to us over the years on numerous occasions. He's the president of Paramount Business Development. He is a senior business executive whose strategic business planning and leadership team development skills have led organizations through turnaround situations out of labor difficulty and strikes and revitalized old manufacturing plants. Rick has a master's in business administration with focus areas of entrepreneurship and finance from the University of Louisiana and a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering from Purdue University. He also held a professional engineer's license. So with that, the floor is yours, Rick Munson, and the only thing that I would ask our attendees is to remind you, or for those who haven't been with us yet, you please use the question and or chat function. We will save the questions for the end of the presentation, so don't think that you're not going to be heard or have an opportunity, but your interaction with the presenters comes through us as the moderator. It isn't direct interaction because it would be chaos. So with that, I'm going to sign out, and Rick Munson, the floor is yours, sir. Thank you.
Thank you for a very generous and gracious introduction. Not sure I can live up to all that. But what I want to talk about today, everybody for the last 2 years has had difficulty hiring. And even today with the unemployment rate being high, we're still having trouble hiring because apparently there are people who are waiting to be called back to work or who have decided they don't want to go to work. So I'm going to be talking about increasing employee engagement because if you do it right, it's just like hiring another employee. A little bit of housekeeping stuff. Why is my slide not advancing? I'll do it this way. Just so you're completely understanding the timeline, my talk is going to be till 10:30. We'll have a short, Q&Q. I think that's supposed to say Q&A period. And then Jesse will start talking at about 10:40. And the whole thing will wrap up somewhere around 11:20 or 11:25, depending on your questions. My purpose today is pretty simple. I just want to help you understand what increasing employee engagement looks like. In 30 minutes, I can't get very deep into it, but I'm going to be, hitting the highlights. What we really want to talk about is understanding your employees and show you concepts in building a high-performing team. There's going to be a lot more of this. I just released a book on Amazon about 3 weeks ago. It's called Become the Employer of Choice, and it's going to go into a lot of these topics much deeper. I'm not trying to make a commercial for a book. I don't mean it that way, but many of you may be looking for more information when this is over. A little bit about Paramount. I'm going to spend 10 seconds on this. We started in December 2005. We're almost to our 15-year mark, but we've coached hundreds of clients. There's 2 of us coaches working here with an administrative assistant, Jenny, and a part-time bookkeeper. We do business coaching, leadership coaching, and sales coaching. We've worked with many different industries, but we have a real specific niche in heating, fuels, and HVAC, construction and contractors, and manufacturing, and a little bit in professional business services. I'd be willing to ask more questions, answer more questions offline. I really don't like talking about this. Eric introduced me, so again, I'm not going to go into details about this, but believe it or not, I used to drill oil wells in the Gulf of Mexico for Marathon Oil Company. So ironically, in a weird way, I started my association with the heating fuels business a long time ago. What I want to get into quickly is 7 keys of developing a high performance team. The first one is strong leadership. By strong, I mean firm, assertive, progressive. I don't mean strong arm tactics. Clear communication. Most every business has a communication issue, and I stress that communication must be clear in order to be effective. We talk about a common goal, and in most cases, what we're talking about is a great vision for people to aspire to achieve. The fourth thing is what we call the rules of the game. In other words, how do we play the game of business? What do we do when we perform our day-to-day tasks? How do we do it? So on and so forth. The fifth part of a high performance team is having a very solid action plan, meaning that everybody knows what we're doing. Everybody has goals. Everybody has direction, rather than just showing up every day and going to work. You know, we have actual direction. We have a plan. The sixth item is effective delegation, meaning that we are delegating appropriately to the people below us so that the work gets done and the customers get satisfied. And the most important thing that we're going to talk about today is what I call 100% engagement. And I want to go into a little bit of details about why we want to talk about 100% engagement. So we want to really focus on increasing the engagement. I mean, 100% engagement might be a little bit of a unicorn, meaning we'll never quite get there, and I'll show you why in just a minute. But engagement in the workforce is one of the very critical things for moving everybody forward. Why did it do that? I don't know why. There we go. Here's the case for higher engagement, because sometimes when I talk about higher engagement of employees, people look at me kind of cockeyed and they're kind of like, well, what does that mean? What does that look like? Well, here's some data from some recent HR surveys over the last 2 to 3 years. Many studies have agreed that in the average company, average employee engagement is about 55%. So when you think about that, that's kind of sad, because 55% means out of an 8-hour day, you're getting roughly 5 hours of productivity. I don't know how you feel about that, but I feel that's kind of upsetting and discouraging. However, those same HR studies have shown that the best in class, meaning the best companies, have employee engagement somewhere around 85%. Some have listed it at 80, some have listed it as 90, 92, but I pull an average of about 85% out of the studies I've read. So let's do the math and let's think through that. If I have a 10 employee company, and if everybody works an 8-hour day, 5 days a week, if I'm only getting 55% productivity or engagement, that means out of that 10 employee 8-hour day, 5 days a week, I'm getting 220 productive hours per week. So let's talk about the same company that can get their employee engagement up by doing some of the very right, very logical things. They could get their engagement up to 85%. But what does that mean? Well, what that means is in that same 8-hour day, 5 days a week for those 10 employees, they get 340 productive hours per week at 85%. So I don't know about you, but that blows my mind. That means that same 10 employee company basically just hired 2+ new employees without doing a thing with the exception of just getting their engagement to a higher level. So we think about that and it's like, okay, you got me. Now what do I do? How do I do that? So I could talk for 2 hours on this and really only have a good scratching of the surface, but I'm going to give you a lot of key points here in the next 22 minutes to try to get you headed in the right direction. So how do we build that high performance team? Well, we really only have two choices, right? We either improve what we have, meaning employees, or we replace what we have. So today we're not going to talk about replacing employees. That's off topic. We're really going to talk about improving what we have because, you know, the bottom line is we want to do a better job with the people that we have. So let's go back to strong leadership and let's talk about how you are leading your team. And remember, I said strong does not mean strong arm. I want to start with what is the right mindset for the leader. And in many companies, I've gone in, helped them for a few months and seen dramatic changes just by changing the way the leadership team thinks. And I could go in a deep dive on this, I won't. But one of the first things is what I call about being above or below the line. If I'm being above the line, I'm outcome focused, I'm accountable, and I'm proactive. And there's been books written about these items. There's been, at last count, there's been at least 4 books that I know of written about being above or below the line. So you're like, okay, Rick, I get that. So if that's being above the line, what is below the line? And you might see yourself in some of this, but it shows up as people playing the blame game, people making excuses, people being in denial about what's going on around them, you know, la, 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 just going on down the street without watching. And then the last thing is sarcasm, which, especially for us in the Northeast, I just jokingly call it the Jerry Seinfeld shtick. The point being that sarcasm never helps. You know, it usually leaves one person with a cheap joke and the other person feeling injured. But by being above the line, we're being the winners. And by being below the line, we're actually being the whiners. The most important thing about leadership is how is anybody on your team going to be above the line for their coworkers or for your customers if you as the leader is walking around being below the line? The key here is that this is 100% your choice in how you are going to act every day. And I often say that being above the line is a choice you make, just like the choice you made on what clothes you're going to wear today. It is that simple. So more about that. We want to create the right environment for this winning team. We want to improve what we have, but we want to, as the leaders, we want to create the right environment. And working on ourselves and making sure we're above the line is the first step. But also, we want to talk more in detail about how we set the right environment. The environment is critical. People reflect, people are motivated by, people are discouraged by the environment. So we want to make sure we have the right environment at work. What we want to do, next to having an above the line attitude, we want to make sure that everybody on our team knows the goals. And this sounds kind of silly, actually, because you're sitting there saying, well, as a leader, I know the goals. But the question is, does your team know the goals? So the big picture is understanding what your vision is. Teams love to pursue a big vision. Teams love that. Maybe it's about the team knowing what your BOHAG is, your big old hairy audacious goal. And then yes, it boils down to what are my annual goals, what are my quarterly goals? Or a lot of times in the heating fuel business, we talk about the season goals and the off-season goals. So also on setting up the environment, we want to be sure that we understand our people. And oftentimes I run into leaders that say, well, you know, my people need to understand me, they need to understand the company. So that's one side of it. But what we really want to do as leaders, we want to truly understand our people. So in understanding our team members, you know, we want to understand ourselves. The better we understand ourselves, the better that'll help us understand our team members. Sometimes we do assessments, and I kind of joke that assessments are kind of like the owner's manual for the person. We do 3 levels of assessments, very down and dirty DISC assessments, for example. We do the higher level, more involved DISC assessments, but the ones that we really use continuously are done by Profiles International. They're very in-depth, they're very accurate, they're validated. But assessments give you more information on that individual. And one of the things I hate, and even though I'm going to talk about it in a minute, I hate the stereotypes that people associate with generational groups. I hate it. Why? Because when we talk about stereotypes, we're not really diving into the person and understanding the person. My advice to you is truly, truly to understand the person. Information that you gain about that individual is important in understanding them, but also important in planning their career path, and also important in understanding how they can be in the best position for the best fit for the organization. I love diving into people because, equipment is equipment, fuel is fuel, people are the hard part. And for those of you that are very good on equipment, very good technicians, very good installers, that's wonderful. For you that have been in the business 30 years, that's wonderful. But understanding the people is a never-ending, constantly changing game. So having said that, I'm going to talk out of both sides of my mouth for a minute. I'm going to talk about generational definitions. You've probably seen this many times before, so I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on it. But right now in the workforce, the World War II generation, they're all retired now. Silent generation, most of them are retired, maybe 5–10% are still working. But the real chunk of the working force right now is the baby boomers, or as my son calls, you boomers. Okay. But we have the Generation X, which has been in the workforce for quite some time now. We have millennials, which are fairly new to the workforce, fairly new meaning in the last 10–20 years. And then we have the iGen or Gen Z, or some people even call them the centennials. These are the people that are coming into the workforce today, and the top edge of them are 25 years old. Now, before you get, wanting to argue about the defined timelines, not all the things you read agree on these time spans and ages. And these are the ones that I've adopted just for conversational purposes and for the purposes of the workshops like today. But these kind of give you loose brackets around people. Tips for leading the 4 generations, and the reason I'm saying 4 is because if we eliminate the silent generation, if we eliminate the World War II generation, there's really only 4 in the workforce today. The way of thinking in the past, this came from the silent generation and from World War II generation. It was all about the pay, medical benefits, and the 401k. But in today's world, that's not enough. That is absolutely not enough. And it's certainly not enough to get great engagement. The silent generation is retiring. The baby boomers are starting to look at retirement. Many of them have retired. Some of them are looking for post-retirement careers. Thanks to the pandemic, thanks to 2008 and 9, there are many people that thought they were going to have a comfortable retirement. Now they're finding out they have to work. That might be an advantage to you because there's a lot of knowledge in the baby boomers. The Generation X, they're the people that are really working hard right now. They're the bulk of the working generation. They're very challenging to motivate. They look for balanced work, and they seem to be somewhat skeptical of authority. The millennials are always looking for perks, for loyalty. They're looking for constant feedback, and they're extremely tech savvy. I mean, I have a lot of clients that have hired wonderful millennial workers in their 30s, and they have completely remade the companies with their tech abilities. The thing that we have to remember to do is we have to remember to embrace this generational diversity. Because if you think about it, you have the baby boomers with tremendous knowledge. You have the Generation X with good knowledge, good structural, administrative knowledge. And then you have the millennials coming in that are very tech savvy, and they're able to do things that take them 10 minutes. It might take us 2 hours. We got to remain open to their perspectives and their attitudes. And one of our jobs is to provide constant feedback, but our job is to knit these different generations together to make it work. Other things, be sensitive to what motivates generations. But again, as I said, I hate the stereotypes. It's better to know the individuals. We always want to be continuing to shape and promote our vision, because that's motivating to a whole host of people. A lot of times we have our vision in our head, but unless we are communicating that, it's not going to be very inspiring. We need to communicate it. We need to project our expectations on outcomes, not necessarily our expectations on how people work. We want to control the what, not the how. We want to have a flexible work environment. The younger generations all appreciate flexibility. Remember, you had your kids 20, 30 years ago, 40 years ago. Now they're having kids. They have young babies. They have babysitters. They have kids in school. They have sporting events. They want the flexibility. We must learn to value all team members and find the good in every one of them. We want to create, we want to create flexible work environment while valuing everybody. And we need to find ways to allow and to promote productivity regardless of age. So moving on to the engagement thing specifically, let's talk about some specific engagement ideas. The benefits of engaging, we are going to have higher productivity. We're going to have better teamwork. We're going to have higher work satisfaction. We're going to have increased morale and decreased turnover, better development of internal talent, which is really key in most companies as people retire. And yeah, we'll have less fires, so you can concentrate on strategic issues instead of firefighting. We'll have increased leader confidence, meaning you and your top team, your top leaders, because as engagement increases, things will go smoother and quicker. And then we will have increased leadership present, because we're not always out there fixing fires. We're, elbow to elbow with them, helping them, teaching them, helping them learn how to perform better. Again, we want to know each employee, and it's a one-on-one relationship. We need to learn each individual. Individuals are different, and if you haven't already experienced this, I would be very surprised, but we need to get to know each one of them. It's not a group them. It's an individual relationship. We want to develop and give engaging messages. Remember to be above the line, but be very conscious about what you say. A lot of times, I know I'm guilty of this. You get in a hurry, you blurt out something, and 5 minutes later you're going, ooh, I probably should have said that a little bit better. That came out a little too harsh. The younger generations are very sensitive to harsh language and being treated harshly. So we really need to learn to provide supporting and encouraging messages. That will help people be more engaged. We want to design everybody's role so that they understand what they do, they understand their responsibilities. The better they understand their job, the more clarity they're given about their job, the easier it is for them to do. Imagine sitting around and wondering about whether or not you should do something, whether or not it's part of your job. We want to set clear expectations on the what we expect. Oftentimes as leaders and managers, we get too down into the weeds on how they do things. We want to manage the what. And remember, the younger generations, they have different methods, different tools. They're more tech savvy. So sometimes the way they do things are vastly different than the way we do things, and that's a good thing. We want to adjust our style to each individual employee. We want to acknowledge and reward appropriately. Get used to doing things to reward employees, and it doesn't have to be a big thing. Years ago, there was a book written on 1,001 ways to reward employees. I think a new edition has come out. It's 1,501 ways to engage. 1,501 ways to reward employees. Get the book. It's not always about money. And remember, what we're trying to do is develop leaders for the future. We have to engage all generations. We have to set up situations and encourage information sharing sessions, working together, collaborative working, because there's a tremendous amount of knowledge that the older workers have, and we need to facilitate a way for that knowledge transfer to happen. One way to do it is to set up the younger workers with a mentor. It's not what I do as coaching, but it is similar. But even when I went to work at Marathon Oil, when I was 21 years old, I was assigned a mentor. And this was in 1982. Why can't we still do that today? We want to really focus on knowledge transfer. We want to keep everybody involved, keep everybody learning. The more structured this plan is, the better it'll be. One way to do is to pair the older workers with the younger workers. We want to consider various different mentoring models. And there's a lot written about how to mentor younger people, how the older people, the older workers can mentor the younger people. Invest in that, learn how to do that. I can help you with that. Regardless of the model you use, make mentoring part of your culture and part of your employment life cycle. It will bring satisfaction to your older employees, knowing that they're able to train younger people. It will bring satisfaction to the younger people, knowing that they're being taught. You know, there's no question the older generations know more than the younger generations in terms of work information. They're somewhat intimidated by that. Our job is to make sure they can benefit from our years of experiences, but we have to figure out how to do it. One of the things we have to focus on is involvement and inclusion. One of the key elements here is team alignment. You know, a lot of businesses I go into, they rarely have meetings because they don't feel they're necessary. And trust me, I'm not a meeting guy in general, but I do believe in making sure that the whole team is aligned around the vision, is aligned around the core purpose, the core why, the BOHAG, and more specifically, our goals. I like to set 3 to 5 year goals, annual goals, and quarterly goals. But if the team doesn't know it, it's all for naught. So part of higher engagement is having really good team alignment so that everybody knows what we're doing. Okay? Clear communication is critical to success. I don't think I've ever walked into a company that said they communicate too much. I don't think I've ever walked into a company that said, hey, the communication around here is too clear. It just kind of sucks. Never happens. But everybody tells me that communication is an issue. 9 out of 10 companies claim that. Part of the reason I believe is because the leaders of privately owned companies, they never think about communicating to their team. I think they must just assume because they know things, everybody knows things. But communicate is critical. Team meetings, structure them, talk about the frequency, talk about the content of a team meeting. Have those crucial conversations. And by crucial conversations, I'm talking about corrective communication. I'm talking about, yes, discipline. Nobody likes that. But you think about driving your car down the road. You got to steer your car to keep it between the lines. I think of employees the same way. We have to guide and coach and mentor the employees, and we have to keep them between the lines. We have to keep them out of the ditch, and we have to keep them out of the other lanes. We don't want them to be in a head-on accident, right? I think it's a powerful, powerful metaphor for leading and managing people. We want to have all-inclusive business planning to the best that we can. And yes, we want to do succession planning. And there's 2 types of succession planning in my mind. There's the succession planning for exiting owners. I'm not talking about this here. What I'm talking about is the succession planning of planning the org chart moves for people moving up, making sure that the personal development is being done so that the employees are ready when it's time for them to move up. That is internal succession planning. And then, yes, we want to build our team for future-based needs. There's one other thing I'm going to touch on that is very, very important for younger generations, and that is emotional intelligence. And I don't know about you, but 20 years ago, I don't think this was even on the radar screen. For some of the big companies it was, but this is becoming very important now for private companies. And emotional intelligence is really the science of who you are and who you are being. And it has a lot to do with how you interact with team members. I'm a certified emotional intelligence practitioner. I don't do that solely. but I do it as part of leadership coaching because our younger generations are way more emotionally intelligent than people like me in the baby boomer generation are. Okay. I'm going to show you one chart and this will wrap up my presentation. But the blue line shows how people feel in a high performance workplace, and the red line shows how people feel in a low performance workplace. But notice where on the blue line, how the people in a high performance, very good, emotionally intelligent workforce, how they feel valued, how they're proud of their work, they're proud of their employer, how they feel more optimism, and how they're more cheerful. But notice the red line, notice the high points on the red line where people are in a low emotional intelligence or low performance workplace. They are very anxious, they're worried, sometimes they're even depressed, sometimes they have feelings of inadequacy. What a terrible workplace that would be. But this is what emotional intelligence looks like in the workforce, and this is what really creating the right environment looks like for your workforce. Does it work? Yes. Can you do it? Yes. I have done it with probably a dozen clients over the last 2-3 years. So can you do it? I know you can do it, but it takes a different way of thinking. And that's all that I have today. My contact information is on the screen. I'm showing you my email address, my telephone number at the office, and then also my, oops, I put the wrong cell phone number in there. That's actually my fax number. I apologize. I'll give it to you real quick. It's 570-460-3596. And I'm easily found on the web with Rick Munson on Facebook, LinkedIn, and then Paramount Business Development is easily found on the web as well. And that's all I have. That's my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Question, you briefly touched on that it's not always about the money. Could you expand on that a little bit? I have heard in the past that studies demonstrate that most employees do not leave because of money. They leave because they have a sense that there's a lack of appreciation for their input. Is that what you were referring to? And could you expand on that a little bit? Because I think that's very key from your talk, and I thank you very much for it, just showing about how you can expand the productivity of your existing workforce by getting a couple more hours, and that might be something, maybe that little attaboy or attagirl is the motivational thing to drive that. Could you talk to that a little bit, please?
Yes, absolutely. And I'm not a big fan of HR or HR studies in general, but I do read a lot of them. And, you know, money has always ended up being 5th, 6th, or 7th in every HR study for 20 plus years, probably 30 years. But what is most important is how a person feels they're treated, how a person feels they're valued, and whether or not they understand their job and whether or not they get any type of job feedback. So there's many things we can do to improve the environment for a worker. Now, back to the money, I believe you got to be plus or minus 10% of, say, the median for that job. So let's say an oil truck driver's $25 an hour average pay. You know, you can probably get by with $22 to $27 an hour. You're within, you know, a 10% range. So you got to be within the range. But what really makes people leave, quite frankly, is the boss. People don't leave paychecks, people leave people. People leave bosses. And the first time I heard that, I might have been 28, 29 years old, and I thought that was pretty harsh. But I have found it is true. So we got to make sure we treat them right. We got to make sure, in my belief, you got to be honest with them. You got to give them frequent performance feedback. And you've just got to have a great place to work with a great environment. You know, like you said, Eric, the first thing is always, do I feel valued and appreciated? And if you've got a star player that doesn't feel valued and appreciated, shame on you. You're probably going to lose them.
Thank you. Another question. What if meetings are initiated and you hear crickets when you ask for input?
So a great question. A lot of times, if you don't get feedback or participation, and I always believe that every leader should carry a mirror in their pocket, because every time they see that employees aren't doing what they expected, the first thing they need to do is pull that mirror out and look at themselves. So if people aren't participating in a meeting, why is that? So it usually boils down to a small handful of things: is they don't trust that you'll receive their input appropriately, or they don't believe they have valuable input, or they're nervous about speaking up because the guy beside them might, catch up to them later and talk to them. But you've got to create an open environment where people feel comfortable sharing their opinions. And that's not easy, but that's why you hear crickets, because of one of those elements.
Thank you. Those were the two questions that I had. We will, if someone thinks of a question that is pertinent to Rick's presentation, we will certainly be able to circle back at the end, but I'm not going to, I'm sorry, I thought I saw another question come in. So with that, Rick, thank you. I am going to see if I can take control away from Rick and hand it to Jesse Lord. Jesse is with us. Jesse, are you there?
I am here.
Mark? Okay, hold on. I did something wrong. I'm going to make Jesse, you should be able to be the presenter. Jesse is having some technical difficulty. His audio works and his screen sharing works. Unfortunately, his video is not working, but Jesse is with us. Jesse Lord served in the United States Army for 8 years. Throughout his career as a senior weapons sergeant with the 7th Special Forces, he was formally recognized and awarded for his contributions, dedication, and leadership 19 times, including the Bronze Star Medal for his exceptionally meritorious service during combat operations in Afghanistan. Journey transitioned back to civilian life and a career with ARM Solutions in November 2016. He immediately became active on various committees and quickly identified a huge need in our industry, one that could benefit his fellow U.S. military veterans. We need bright, hardworking, and loyal employees. So in addition to working for ARM Solutions, Jesse is also the co-founder of Vets to Techs, our industry's liaison, to United States military veterans, connecting energy marketers seeking solid employees to the veteran community seeking employment. Their mission is to provide our industry support, guidance, and education on the benefits and rewards of hiring U.S. military veterans who dedicated their lives for our freedom. Jesse, on behalf of all of us, thank you for your service to our country and for your outstanding resume during that service to our country. And with that, even though we can't see you, we hear you, we see your presentation. The floor is yours, Jesse Lord. Thank you.
All right. I do want to start off by saying it is somewhat comical that the young millennial is having the technical issues. That's usually the other way around. But I'm going to do my best to work through this without you guys being able to see my webcam. And I think we're gonna have just a great slideshow here. So starting off, just a little bit about who we are, what we do, and then we're going to get right into the meat and potatoes of what we're planning on talking today. So we are a nonprofit organization, and when I exited the military service, I went right in and to my family company within our industry, and I was very concerned. I was worried about how would I acclimate to this new position, and how would this engagement work? What is the industry all about? Because if there's one thing that our industry is lacking is, the properly promoting the available opportunities, the culture, and the longevity of a position within our industry. I quickly was brought into the fold and have never looked back. I really, anyone on the call here that I've met with or that I worked with over the past couple of years, I have to say it's the direct communication with individuals like you that have made this a seamless integration and transition for me as a veteran into our industry. So from that, we were able to identify that there are many veterans out there that are having the same transition issues that I had, and the doubts and questions about what industry is best for us, where should we go, and really with our training, what is going to be the easiest for us to assimilate to and transition into. So from that, we were able to build the Vet to Techs nonprofit that focuses primarily on bringing those veterans into our industry. And right now, a majority of people on the call are always looking for those drivers, those technicians, the service technicians, CSRs. Our workforce is an aging workforce, and we're looking to find who's going to take the helm, who's going to move us forward. Okay, and the best option that I have to present to you is the veterans themselves. Okay, this community is a tight-knit community of individuals who understand not only commitment, but they also are able to show up on time. They're able to take orders. They're able to be free-thinking. They're a great group. They're a great group of individuals that can bring a lot of value to your company. But in addition to that, they also have a lot of benefits that come with them. So we're going to go ahead, and I'm starting off with just some COVID information, because that's at the top, the top of every headline out there in the newspaper of how COVID has affected our nation and the world as a whole, but it's particularly affected the veteran community. And there are a lot of initiatives being put in place and running actively to help displaced soldiers find new employment opportunities. And not just employment opportunities to take up what they had lost or fill what they had lost during the COVID initial shutdown, but also to find employment opportunities in industries that are mission critical and will guarantee that soldier, that service member has long-term sustainability and employment. Okay. So starting off, the effects on the veteran community. Okay. Just so everyone's aware, when COVID-19 hit, the state shutdowns led to huge amounts of layoffs. We had a large amount of soldiers, National Guard Reserve Force members that were displaced because of these shutdowns, because a lot of them were not in what we would identify, or the government would identify, as mission critical. Because of that, they have been reaching out, and there's a massive push to find employment opportunities for veterans that will be a safer option and a more long-term option. And this is a great opportunity for anyone within the energy sector, because we are that group. We are that industry, okay? As you can see here, from New York or Maine all the way down to New Jersey, we are getting constant requests from the National Guard and Reserve Forces command staff to work with employers that are actively seeking to hire soldiers or just candidates in general, so that we can potentially fill those positions with service members, with veterans, okay? And because of that large amount of unemployment on a federal and state level, there has been a push for specific programs where the DoD program specialists in every state have begun to conduct outreach to different industries seeking to hire these new candidates and onboard these new individuals. This is our opportunity. Okay, this is right now, we're getting ramped up. Everyone's getting the trucks are all full of service. We got another month before the season starts to shift, and we have to think about, okay, how many drivers do we have available? What do we have that worst case scenario? Do we have enough individuals to answer the phones? Do we have the technicians we need to make sure we can get that service done? Okay. Right now is the opportunity for us to conduct that outreach. And there's a few different ways that you can conduct that outreach, and we're going to cover some of them. And we're also going to cover some of the critical things that your company can be doing to make sure that when a military service member is online or speaking to a command element, that command element is not only aware that you guys exist, that your companies are in need, but they're also aware of what our industry offers. We have the best industry out there. Really, I promote it so heavily because I believe in it. I live in it every single day. But just because internally we know that it does not mean that it is voiced and it is promoted outside of our industry. And so there's a few key things that we're going to talk about today in relation to promotion of the industry to the veteran community, and also in relation to the benefits that are available to those veterans, or with those veterans joining us. So some of the things that we're doing, and that I'm sure that everyone here on the call is doing, is COVID-19, propane, oil flyers, state support outreach, and social media career posting. A lot of the effectiveness that we have as a group and you have as individuals is direct connectivity with that individual, right? Without the actual digital outreach being conducted or outreach to state assets, it is very difficult to get our message broadcasted, okay? So to counteract the loss of that physical engagement that you would have to have people constantly coming in that door or being out and about, having your HR members conduct career fairs, we've started to work more on the digital side to tell that story and post those positions so that when a young man or woman is looking for a career opportunity, they're able to immediately think of, oh, you know what, I saw that posting, I saw that flyer, I saw, the state outreach coordinator did tell me about this company, okay? So efforts for displaced veterans, outreach to local military assets, social media postings, flyers supporting the hiring of displaced veterans, and promoting your company as mission critical. These 4 bullets are really the big ticket items that everyone should be at the forefront of everyone's mind as we start to get into the height of recruiting season. So outreach to local military assets. So we've created relationships specifically throughout New England all the way down to Virginia with local command and employment support personnel. These individuals, so everyone is aware, there is no secret where we're hiding them behind closed doors. These individuals are paid for by our tax dollars, and they work a 9 to 5 Monday through Friday, and they are dedicated to finding a gainful employment, long-term employment for the service members that they assist, okay? Later in the webinar, it says here, I'm actually going to give you guys the contact information, direct contact information for the state liaison or outreach officer for every state. So depending on whether you're located in Maine or New Jersey, Pennsylvania, New York, you can contact these individuals and open that dialogue to say, we work with the propane industry, we work with the oil industry, and we need quality candidates. We're offering many different positions. We're offering long-term employment, no matter what happens with COVID as this continues, if it is cyclic. And we would like for you to share this with your service members, with the military community as a whole. And they will be happy to do so, okay? Their employment, their success of their employment is dictated by the results of placement of soldiers and interaction with the veteran community and the public companies, okay, or private companies. That forces them or causes them to want to build relationships with us and work with them. So your HR representative can open that dialogue, begin talking about what it is your company specifically offers and is looking for in candidates, and create a pipeline in a sense where the information is shared from your HR representative to the outreach, the local assets, and then they are able to distribute it through their military chain, and any applicants of interest are able to be sent back to you. Social media postings. Many people right now on this call, if you're hunting for a quality employee or just a driver, a service tech, a CSR, a routing specialist, let's say an above ground or below ground tank installer, you're probably utilizing Indeed, you're using monster.com, maybe you're only posting on your website underneath the careers section. However, here you see 2 media postings utilizing Facebook. Now, Facebook is something that not all companies are aware. Facebook Jobs, they're not aware that it exists or how to utilize it. But any company on here that has a social media profile on Facebook has the opportunity to post jobs under Facebook Jobs. Now, Facebook Jobs is different than if you were to post a career opportunity on your social media profile underneath your page. When you post underneath your page, the only individuals that are seeing that information or that post are the individuals who are already part of your network. They follow you, they've liked your page, they're a current customer, and that is great, right? But we want to actually reach outside of our current network. We want to be able to find young blood that isn't aware that the industry is actively recruiting. So this is an opportunity to utilize the Facebook Jobs, which has an algorithm that is set to that utilizes geolocation. And any individual that goes on to the social media and goes to Facebook Jobs, whether or not they are following your company, have liked your page, they are going to see your career posting, okay? It has a in-depth back end where you're able to have I don't want to say seamless because it is not seamless. Nothing in life is perfect. However, the application process is fairly robust and it is fast, okay? This is something that, again, this is just a small thing that your company can be doing, maybe spending an hour a week or maybe even less, depending on what it is, the number of candidates your company is looking for. But they can actively post career opportunities that are going to reach individuals outside of your current social media circles, okay? And this is great for sharing with veterans pages. This is great for sharing on state employment pages. All of this information can be consistently placed into different individuals' pages that are dedicated to helping find individuals employment. So what you would do is you're taking one individual, one HR asset, and from them dedicating time to properly distribute this information online, you're allowing them to force multiply. They may be one person posting on your behalf, but by the end of the day, it's already been seen or been shared or moved amongst 10 to 20 communities that consist of a couple hundred people each. So that force multiplication right there is excellent, and it allows for a faster distribution and wider distribution of the information that you're trying to get out there. Promoting your company is mission critical. Okay, this is extremely important because right now propane and oil is mission critical. Over the past 6 weeks to 5 months now, we are seeing mass layoffs. We're seeing furloughed individuals. COVID-19 is affecting industries and small businesses where veterans may have been working, and they're looking for a more secure place of employment. We are that secure employment. We can guarantee that no matter what happens, whether it's the hurricane outside or it's the COVID outside or whatever may be happening in the world at that day, our trucks are going out. We provide a service that guarantees homes have heat, they are able to cook. That is something that we, no matter what, have to be doing. And because of that, we're able to promote, and we should continue to promote, scream at the top of the mountain, we're mission critical. And if you're looking for a good job that's going to guarantee that you will be employed if anything happens like it did 4 months ago, you need to come talk to us. Because these veterans obviously the pay scale is important, the community, the culture is important, but knowing that they have that security of long-term employment is extremely, extremely comforting to the younger generation. So one way that you can post positions, if you guys would like to, we have a portal, the vets2.org. Again, this is all free for anyone to go on and begin sharing positions. You would log in, create a company profile. You can immediately start posting positions and manage all your candidates, direct requests right through the portal itself. I'm just going to cover a quick few slides that walk through the process, and then we're going to get into the benefits, because that's one of the big selling points, specifically the CDL military skills waiver and healthcare benefits that a lot of companies need to be aware of when they're actively seeking to onboard veterans. So on the portal, you have a complete overview. If you access user registrations, you're able to post new positions, create company profile. You're able to share to all of your social media platforms, track your applicants. We have an events page where we're constantly going out and doing physical engagements, and then automated emails. These are just examples of some of the automated posted positions, emails that you would receive for posting positions. Application, when an applicant applies for a position, again, very standard, something that you've seen probably in your Monster or Indeed. Okay. Now, I'm going to try to keep this pretty at a pretty high level, but I want to make sure I touch on the important pieces. And the first one is the CDL waiver. Okay. Any company, which is probably the majority of the companies that are on this call that are actively seeking drivers, need to know of a CDL waiver. Any veteran that you come across that is applying for a position has the ability to utilize what is called the military skills waiver. Okay. This waiver, the Department of Transportation military skills waiver here, is a single page front and back, and that's the image you see there on the left-hand side. What this does is it allows a veteran who currently holds a driver's license in that state to print out this form, have his or her commander sign this form, and then all of the driving portion of the test is waived. Okay. This will only require the individual to schedule the written test for both the CDL, A or B. It will include their hazmat, air brakes, and tanker license. Now, many states are actually improving upon this form, and some states in the Northeast have already approved and promoted a new form that includes the hazmat portion, which it's fast-tracked to about a 3-week background check because of the soldier's history with the uniform service. Okay. Again, as I said, eligible veterans have to be actively serving or have exited the service within 12 months, be a state resident, have a commander sign off on this form, which all commanders do because they want to see their Joes get good employment, and then successfully pass the CDL knowledge exam. Okay. Next one is Army Cool, which is credentialing opportunities online. This is an online portal created by the federal government that is used by both soldiers and companies to identify what positions they would best fit into and what lateral certifications are available. Okay, so this was designed to bridge the gap between Army training and civilian credentialing. So let's say you're looking for an above ground tank inspector. Okay. That is a lateral certification that a veteran can receive without having to go through additional training. It is an opportunity for the veteran to utilize the training that he or she received in the military and received a civilian certification at no additional training, or if there is additional training, that cost is covered via the Army program. Okay. This is something that if your HR staff is sometimes confused when they have a veteran coming in, or if they already have a veteran that is employed. If your staff isn't looking to see what lateral certifications are available to that veteran, you're missing out on some really good benefits. So you may be able to avoid having to send that individual to a school because they already have the credentials required as provided via training from the military. Who can use Cool? Recruiters, counseling, credentialing organizations, and employers. Okay, anyone out there can access this system and utilize this system to benefit the employment of a soldier, the education of a soldier, and the credentialing opportunity of the soldier. Okay. So now we know that veterans have a lot of great strengths, but with these strengths, I double slided there. I'm sorry. With these strengths, they also come the benefits. And one of the additional benefits that I like to focus on is the Veteran Education Fund. Every year, if we have propane companies here or if we have oil companies here, there are required trainings, whether it's your oil burner license, whether it's your CTEP certification, okay? Your veterans that are currently employed or future veterans that you employ are able to attend these courses at no cost of your company. What that means is that if an individual signs up to receive a certification or training that is a requirement for him or her to conduct their daily work or activities on the job, that will be covered 100% by their education benefit. Now, I've laid out some of them below. You have your 911, which caps at $73,000, Montgomery, which is your $13,000, and then your REA program is $40,000. These are only 3 examples of buckets of funds available to veterans. There are 5, or there are actually 6 that are consistently used. Continuing education funds is one that the majority of veterans groups out there use, specifically in the propane industry. And a good example would be your Maine, Connecticut, and now Vermont have certified CTEP training programs, certified drivers training programs. So at any point, a veteran onboarding in the industry is able to utilize these benefits to attend those courses at no cost to the company. Veteran hire tax credit is another great thing that your company should be utilizing. Any company on this call that has hired a veteran in the last 12 months or that hires a veteran from this call on can utilize these 2 forms. One is an IRS, one is a Department of Labor form that will allow your company to receive a tax credit for the hiring of that service member. These tax credit range between $3,500 and $15,000. The amount determined by the Department of Labor is relative to the actual veteran and the length of unemployment they may have had, if they have service-related injuries, if they have received additional trainings or gone on to additional education pieces, and you have expanded on their service capabilities. All of this is what determines what that tax credit will be. But these 2 forms that should be part of your onboarding process to help make sure that you're taking advantage of the programs that are out there to thank you for hiring a veteran. But also, these additional monies that come in as tax credits can be then reapplied or pushed to different allocations focusing on workforce outreach. If you're saving this money, instead, it gives you the opportunity to reallocate it and say, okay, maybe we should start promoting the veterans on a different level. Maybe we should start promoting workforce development within schools. These additional monies that are saved allow you to increase your outreach efforts. And then the last one I really like to talk about is TRICARE Reserve Select. So most companies have their own healthcare benefits, and they are great. However, if you have a veteran that you are onboarding, or if you currently employ a National Guard or Reserve Forces member, you have the opportunity to offer them the option to utilize their own healthcare, TRICARE Reserve Select. This is a great plan. It is a premium-based plan, okay, and accepted, falls underneath the Requirements Act. It is really, really good. I myself utilize it. So this plan for a single individual is $42.83 a month. If that individual is married, it's $218.01 a month. And that's all. The numbers themselves are amazing, right? But I want you to think about the opportunity here. You have the opportunity to allow that veteran to utilize their military health care. And in return, if they choose to do so, your operations can utilize those savings to provide additional wages, additional benefits on an annual basis for those that utilize this program, to reallocate the funds that you save on an annual basis towards more recruitment. Okay. Typically, for a single individual, you're looking at let's say between $600 and $800 a month. And for a married individual, between $1,200 and $1,800 for your basic health care packages, okay? So you can just see there, if you do the short math, that is an amazing opportunity. Those funds can be utilized to, again, assist you in recruiting, conducting that outreach. And when you're a company that posts your job position and says, if you're a military service member and you have access to TRICARE Reserve Select, we will pay that TRICARE Reserve Select in full. As a veteran, that lets them know that you've done your homework. You're familiar with the programs, and they now have a new expectation of what that interaction is going to be like. Okay, which is, it's important to us. There are many of us that are veterans, many of us that have served, and you know, but we are a small community. Veterans speak veteran to veteran, you know. So to know that a company has taken the time to look at some of these programs and promote these programs is extremely important, and it means a lot to us. Anyone that would like to do a direct request for personnel, you can reach out to us. On the final slide, we'll have a recap of the information, but anyone can reach out directly to our group. We'll go ahead and post on your behalf all of the services for posting positions and sending all this information out, working with the liaison. This is all free. A lot of the programs that are out there are already being paid by our tax dollars. So we should take advantage of it. We need to find new candidates, young candidates, and if we can pull service members in, even better. They'll show up on time. We know they're going to pass that drug test. They're going to work hard. And with all the benefits they come with, why not? It's the perfect fit. So covering some of the local military state contacts, I'm going to stop briefly at each page, but I will be sharing this presentation with Eric afterwards, so you guys will have access to the information. In Maine, you have Joe Tatum. He's based out of Augusta, program support specialist. Joe is a prior service individual and works directly with all military services on the Reserve and National Guard front on a daily basis. He is a very accommodating individual and really supports our industry. We've held many events with him, and he is all about propane and fuel oil. Vermont, we have Candace Bro. Same situation. She is a senior family readiness support assistant. She works not only with the veterans that are within the reserve or serving in a reserve capacity, but she also works with all the family members. Again, even if you don't hire a veteran, to hire from a veteran family, to hire in a spouse of a veteran or a child of a veteran, that's still a great thing to do, and that still promotes your company, showing that you're not just veteran friendly, but you're veteran family friendly. New Hampshire, again, a career readiness counselor. Keith Roberts with Massachusetts. Peter with Connecticut. Peter is a career readiness counselor, and again, has held many job fairs and career fairs, both physical and digital, for the propane and fuel oil industry, including he's familiar with NTEC and their training abilities. He is a great contact if you're based in Connecticut and looking to hire. Veronica Moran in Rhode Island. Veronica attended the heat show last year with the Deputy G1 of Rhode Island. She, again, great contact if you have operations within Rhode Island. And Darlene Stanton, she is also a career readiness counselor and very active. Her whole family is prior service, and she is probably one of the most active individuals in the state of New York that has direct connection with the majority of all reserve forces. So next steps. If you're interested in posting a job with us, you can go to our site, register, begin posting. If you'd like to send us an email and you'd like specific information on programs such as the healthcare program, CDL waiver program, Army Cool System, send us an email. We'll take care of you. If you've already hired a veteran and you have questions as to whether or not those individuals are eligible for some of these programs, reach out to us direct, okay? At the end of the day, we want to make sure that all the programs are out there are being leveraged and that you are taking advantage of what's available to you, okay? When you hire a veteran, I don't want to say that you're taking a risk, but you are hiring an individual that some companies, some industries really shy away from, okay? They fit perfectly in our industry. Our culture is such an easy one for them to assimilate to that it is amazing, all right? They will show up on time. They're going to be great candidates. They're going to work hard for you. You bring them in, you show them their new family, which is our industry, and then they will be devoted to you forever and ever. Amen. Okay. Eric, at this time, that's everything I have. If you want to take control.
Great. Thank you, Jesse. Jesse, before we come to a question for you, a question came in for Rick after we transitioned, just as we were transitioning over to you. So I'm going to ask Rick to come back. And Rick, the question is, how do you get ownership and management to buy in? And I will presume that part of the inherent in the question might be why, if you have an employee that's only okay, management might think that you're not going to get anything more out of them because management never does anything wrong. So why, how do you get management to acknowledge that they haven't been providing that leadership to their existing employees, that there might be some pushback because management would say, we do everything right and the problem is with this person, not with us?
Well, you certainly hit the nail on the head with the problem there, and that is management in general. And I'm in management, I'm a leader, but managers and leaders in general have a certain amount of arrogance, like you said, that they never do anything wrong. So that's a prevalent problem. So they have to identify that there is a problem that needs fixing, or else there will be no action moving forward. So the key here is to get management and leaders to understand that they need a higher level of engagement. Maybe they need to become the employer of choice. Maybe they just need to become a good employer. Without the recognition of those facts, it's honestly going to be very difficult. But like anybody who is sick, unless they realize they're sick, they're not going to go to the doctor for help, right? So one of the things that might help is being able to put in front of them what the productivity is. You know, use that little math thing that I did when I said do the math. The other thing is to ask them, how hard is it to hire people? You know, Jesse made a good point about, you know, the attractiveness of the industry in general, especially to vets. But this is a great industry. I mean, it's a year-round industry. It's pretty much, in today's world, recession-proof. So the key is you got to identify the issue. And if you can't hire employees, why is that? What is your outward-facing reputation in the market? So not an easy answer, very tough question.
Thank you. Jesse, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Why do we need your organization? And that isn't a flippant question. I would think that if there is anybody that I would look to hire, it would be a person that has shown that they can, be given a game plan and independently show up and implement it, let alone the fact that they might have already been trained in, driving heavy equipment with lots of dangerous things on it, or, being mechanically adept. What is the stigma? I can't even fathom there being a stigma to hiring a veteran, but apparently there is. So why do we need you? What is the concern that employers have with hiring somebody that's risked their life and has risked their life for us to begin with, let alone the fact that they have all of the traits that you want in an employee generically, let alone some of the skills we specifically need as an industry?
Well, that's a good question. And I'll tell you that it's actually, it's not that the issue with hiring from the veteran community truly does not come from our industry personnel. The issue comes from the connectivity, okay? And what I mean by that is, I say it often, no one speaks to a veteran, better than a fellow veteran. We as an industry have, over the past couple of years, if not much longer, for the couple of years that I've been around, let's say, and I'm green still, but we do a lot of internal recruiting. A lot of the outreach that we conduct, we avoid putting pay scales. We put a requirement for CDL. We put a requirement for hazmat. We set standards, and we haven't evolved completely, at the same level as some other industries. And when it comes to the veteran outreach and that connectivity, the reason that we exist is that if your company, let's say ABC Oil, was to show up and say, hey, I'm really interested, I'd love to hire 4 veterans, but I don't know what to do. Well, when myself or one of my team members who are all veterans are able to walk into a unit or pick up the phone and call a commanding officer and explain and give our credentials and speak veterans, say, hey, sir, I'm a prior Green Beret, 7th group guy. I got a great company. I work in the industry, and I got a great company here that's looking for some drivers. I'm sure you got some soldiers, some Joes that you're looking to help out. Do you mind if we come by and tell you about what we do? Do you mind if we forward along some of these job postings? We'll work with them using their education benefits. We'll go ahead and help them along the whole way. Well, that right there, that us demonstrating that commitment while also providing bona fides of who we are and what we do is why we exist. Okay, we're able to build that relationship. But so the next time, Eric, if you say, man, I could really use another guy, you don't have to pick. We don't want you to have to call us. You should, at that point in time, now have a relationship built with that local commanding officer or that local, sergeant major, that non-commissioned officer in charge, to where you can just go ahead and send him an email and say, hey, sir, hey, sergeant major, it's Eric again. I'm so happy we hired those 3 guys. I'm looking for another. Can you send some my way? It's all about building that relationship. Once the relationship is established, our industry proves itself. We may start with hiring one individual, and that individual, the ripple effect takes place. He tells everyone how great the industry is, how great the training was, how he can, he's out on the road being his own person or her own person, and just loves that he gets the additional hours. There's just such a great benefit to our industry that what we're doing as a group is really just connecting the two groups.
Thank you. We have a question that I was about to ask, but it's come in from one of our members in New Jersey. Would you please be able to provide a New Jersey contact for New Jersey employers that want to be able to participate?
Absolutely. I don't have it in front of me right now, but I will include that, Eric, in I'll add in the extra slide when I send you over the show here.
Thank you. That, unless there is another question, that appears to be all that I have in the queue. So without any further ado, I will thank both of our presenters for the very unique perspective that they have both given about working within your organization and hiring from within, if you will, to get more productivity out of your existing employees, as well as looking at those with military experience. Thank you both, Rick and Jesse. This, as a reminder, this program will be recorded and placed on the EEE website for the duration of the month, and then moved to our YouTube channel afterwards, beginning in September. A reminder to please be sure to visit the trade show. We have 125 exhibitors that are participating as exhibiting virtually with us in the new format for this year. And remind everyone that tomorrow at 10 a.m. we will have a presentation from Propane Resources, Cooper Wilburn and Tamara Kovacs, best practices to build value in your propane business. So again, thank you to both Rick and Jesse. Thank you to those who participated, and be safe, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you.